Well, speaking of no quick fixes, the pressure is on in the Gulf, literally. BP residents and local officials are holding their breath to see if a cap placed on the leaking well will be able to hold. While we wait for tests to be completed on the integrity of that cap and the well, there are new questions today about how much damage has been done not only to the Gulf Coast, but to the White House in these 88 long days. Joining me now, UCLA political science professor Mark Sawyer and Icon radio talk show host Ben Ferguson. All right, gentlemen, so now here we are, day 88, and it looks like the oil has finally stopped. But the question is, how badly was the president damaged during the course of this spill, and has he overcome it, Ben?
Well, I think this is going to really hurt him, especially in the midterm elections. He waited over 50 days to talk to the CEO of BP Oil. That's just a classic example of complete and utter mismanagement by this administration and by this president. I mean, he has singers from American Idol over for his kids' birthday parties, for goodness sakes. He makes comments about it every day, but didn't think to call the CEO of the company. And I think that resonated with the American people. More importantly, though, I think his lack of leadership hurt him among his own people that vote for him and the left and people that consider themselves to be the ultimate green individuals. So not only did he hurt himself with the middle, he hurt him with his own party, and that's why his approval rating is so low.
You know, Mark, he has gotten criticized not just by folks on the right, but also some folks on the left, including, and I want to play the soundbite and I'll get you to react, including James Carville, who's a longtime resident of the Gulf, who has been critical of President Obama and how he's been handling this, including not just the spill, but also the moratorium that he's put into effect on offshore oil drilling. Take a listen to Carville.
People have been so let down. The levees, the federal government let us down. The MMS colossally let everybody down, was supposed to protect us. Now the government comes in after they let us down with MMS, failed to regulate these clowns. Then they come in and say, just blanket stop everything out there. And they're killing the economy here. And the people in the Interior Department that issue these things don't have the foggiest idea about life here. They don't have the foggiest idea about what's going on. They have got to do something about this because the federal government is about to kill us.
Mark, is any of that legitimate?
No, it isn't. And this is a metaphor for the entire Obama presidency, which is you guys want him to be Superman. You want him to fly over and stop oil wells. You want him to fix things that weren't the problems that he caused. I mean, called the CEO. He had the top engineers in the federal government talking to the top engineers at BP. What is he going to call the CEO and say, hey, our guys are talking to your guys. Can you fix this well? That's all that needed to happen. They've been doing all they could. And what he just has to do is remind everyone of that metaphor, that he's been trying to clean up problems that weren't his doing.
Mark,
go ahead, Ben.
This is a classic example. What was the very first thing this president did? First thing he did as president, I'm closing Guantanamo Bay. Guess what? Classic example, is it closed yet? No, he's an overreactor. What he doesn't understand is how to get things done sometimes, but he says, I'm going to do it anyway. He sits there and goes, I'm going to stop the oil and I'm going to do a moratorium on drilling. Twice he's been struck down by the courts. Why? Because he doesn't understand the laws. He doesn't understand the jobs are getting lost because he's a reactionary president the same way with Guantanamo Bay, and it's still open now and it's not going to close anytime soon. He doesn't know what's going on in the Gulf, and James Carville's right. He has no clue, and he's mismanaged it, period.
What of that moratorium, Mark? Because that is something that the left and those in the Gulf region have been really critical of the president on.
Well, look, people are worried. It's a tough issue. People are worried about not being able to drill and losing jobs. But at the same time, especially with this really deep drilling, we need to make sure that this doesn't happen again. What if another well blows up in 6 months and we don't know how to stop it again? We can't. There are jobs lost by all this oil spilling up. There's wildlife. You can't just go buy sea turtles and dump them in the ocean.
What about that?
You lose this stuff forever.
What about that, Ben? Because, you know, he's right. If God forbid, there were another leak because President Obama lifted that moratorium, everybody would be blaming that on him.
Megyn, over 80% of all fines given out to oil drilling companies last year were which company? BP Oil. There was obvious mismanagement there, and we didn't look at it the right way. I agree with that. However, you don't close down the entire industry the way that this president does when he doesn't understand what the issues are.
Well, but he effectively has turned out.
I mean, let me ask you this. Did the president come out after Toyota's cars their brakes stopped working and say, no more cars can be sold in this country, no more can be sold, and you can't buy one? Did he do that? No, because it was ridiculous then, and it's the same principle with oil. It's ridiculous now.
Go ahead, Mark.
This is nonsense. The idea that we need to have effective technology and oil wells so that they don't end up spewing tons and tons of oil into our oceans and on our coast, so that millions of people get thrown out of work and billions of dollars
I want to ask you this.
It makes real good sense. We need to take some time and make sure it's right.
At what point are you okay with it? At what point are you okay with the technology? Are you saying we're 5 years off? Is that what you're telling me?
I don't know. No,
I think that proves my point.
Not. No, it's not my point. I'm not an expert in oil rig technology. It'll be when the engineers tell me that it's safe.
Well, the moratorium's in place for 6 months.
The president. Right.
The moratorium's in place for 6 months for one reason, Megyn. This is a political move by this president because he thinks this is what the public wanted, and it's backfiring him the same way James Carville talked about it. He does not do things because of principle. He does them because he's a reactionary president. He goes, okay, I think right now people don't want drilling, so I'm going to say no more drilling. He didn't look at the facts. That's the same way he didn't have the I don't know, inspiration to talk to the CEO of BP Oil when maybe that's the guy you should
Mark,
be talking to.
That one point, if that's the way the president thinks, then he is wrong, because according to the latest ABC News Washington Post poll, 60% of folks polled say that they oppose the Obama administration's 6-month moratorium on drilling. Just 38% supported it. And 3/4 of those polled said drilling should resume at its existing level or even be expanded in the future. I'll give you the last word, Mark. I got to go.
Right, exactly. He's not doing it for politics. He's worried about the environment and jobs being lost if there's another spill. This is a huge disaster. And calling that Muppet from BP wouldn't have done one darn thing. He called the people, the experts that needed to be talking and on the job were doing it.
That Muppet's running the company that's having the disaster. So you talk to the Muppet, period.
Okay. All right. Well, with apologies to Tony Hayward, we'll have to leave it there. Thank you, gentlemen.